Hello, everybody. Good afternoon, and welcome along to your Rabble Live at 5. All your latest Rangers news, and if there's no Rangers news, we'll just make it up. That's my motto in life, anyway. My name's Martin. I'm your host, and my co-host today is Ash. Ash, how are you?
Doing very well, thank you. I'm glad it's Friday. Got a big game to look forward to at the weekend, and we'll just not talk about last night in Europe. We'll just forget that ever happened, right?
No.
No, is this the wrong show for that? Have I misunderstood the assignment?
Yes, you've totally misunderstood the assignment. I didn't start a Rangers podcast to be happy.
This is true, and we have delivered on that season after season.
Yes, it makes me proud. Yeah, that I'm miserable in life. Hopefully that changes this season. But look, people, please get your comments in if you would be so kind. Give us some questions as well. And absolutely rest in peace to the Rangers fan that sadly passed away. Our thoughts and condolences go out to the family at this horrible time. You're hearing about that more and more now, Ash, with football supporters that go away. It seems it's becoming almost common.
Yeah, just absolutely tragic. And as you say, thoughts and prayers with everyone who knew the gentleman that passed away. And also there was the incident with the Greek fans as well, I think, on the way to their game. There was a horrible road accident where some of them passed away. It's just horrible. You know, you go support your team that you love, you should always come home. So yeah, not nice.
No. We spoke before we came on about my choice of t-shirt. And Lyndon's asking, Martin, is that shirt confirming you're finally coming out? No, I got this t-shirt extremely cheap, which is why I'm wearing it. Very, very cheap.
But you did, Martin, predict that you might get some heat for your t-shirt, because Martin did admit that he's had it for a year and didn't quite feel brave enough to wear it. So I love that Lyndon is straight in with that comment. That's wonderful.
Lyndon just looks for any excuse to have a go at me. He really does. I think he's got a secret crush on me. And I say crush because that's all my daughter talks about now. That's the only word she uses. That's it. Mental. Absolutely mental. Right, okay, Ash, let's get on with the show, shall we? And for anybody who has watched the Rabble for the 5 and a bit years it's been on, or even for the last couple of years, or follows us on socials, I never, ever come out with sources say this, sources say that. This deal's going to happen, that deal's going to happen, because I'm not in the know. However, there is a few places around Rangers that I've got a couple of contacts, not very many. But I was told about 25 minutes ago, Ash, that the Finley Curtis deal is done. It is all signed, and he will be going on loan to Kilmarnock. And I was told it will be announced tonight, but I'm always very cautious about, sometimes things come up and it doesn't get announced and it gets put off until the following day or whatever. But from a very, very, very concrete source that I trust more than most of my family, the Finley Curtis deal's done and he will be off to Kilmarnock.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that's been touted to happen for the last couple of weeks. And I think, when people started to see him in and around the squad again, and particularly with him contributing, and in and again last night, it almost created a bit of a discussion around, well, will that deal actually happen? Or is this a pathway for him back into the first team? But I don't know. I kind of feel like, Rule obviously talked about it a little bit last night. I feel like the reintroduction to the squad was really a bit of a promise to him to say that, look, we do see you as part of the long-term future at Rangers. But actually, in terms of your development, we've decided that it's right for you to go away and have 3 or 4 months of consistent football. And I do think that's important for him. The challenge will be, though, is after he has had a bit of an impact in some of the games recently, could he have proved valuable in the run-in? And I think that's the risk that we've taken. I think we've gambled that long-term, this move is right for him. In the short term, have we weakened the squad by letting him go? And I think that's probably a debate that you could have.
Well, I suppose the debate is you've got Gassama, you've got Ant-Man, you've got Moore, you've got Olsen. So whether or not, does it matter whether he's ready to play in the Rangers first team right now? Ash, is the manager looking at it and going, I've got too many players in that position. He's still a young player. He's still got development to do. I would rather he went out, played for the rest of the season, and then bring him back in next season ready to be a real part of the first team.
Yeah, and I think that if I'm Finley Curtis, I take that as a real compliment. The fact that, he could offer something in and around the squad, but actually the club feel he's too big a talent to actually let that happen. You want to let him go. You want to let him go and play football. You want to have playing in a relegation team as well. That brings a certain level of pressure. I know it's not the same as what you'll have at Rangers, but there will be quite a high level of focus on him. So no, I think this is for his long-term development going to be really, really important. The problem that you're going to have, and we know it will happen, is if one of those wingers, suddenly hit a dip in form, we're struggling out wide, and we've maybe not got the creativity. People will naturally say, what could Finley Curtis have offered there? But I think we just have to say this is a guy we hope to see in and around the squad for the next couple of years, and he'll be better for coming back, having played at Kilmarnock.
Hopefully, that is the plan. But there's loads of people, Ash, and I mean, I've got it on my socials, I've got it in the comments here. Just like this for Stuart, sending Curtis away to develop, and he's already better than what's here. Crazy. I mean, we all predicted that he would start last night. He gets the assist for our goal. For you, is Finley better than some that we have at the football club already? If not, is he good enough for you to get enough minutes to help him progress this season, or do you feel the loan is the right option?
I mean, I think the reality is if you run down the list of wingers that we have, the one where Finley Curtis has contributed meaningfully. He contributed at the beginning of the season. He was then out of the squad for quite a long time. But when he's come back in, it's quite an interesting one because I don't think he's necessarily someone that catches the eye minute by minute. But if you look at some of the stats and you look at the goal creations, you look at the assists, you look at the opportunity, the fact he's one of the few players that will take a shot on and actually, feels confident enough to do that. Yes, he does offer something. If you look at him, compare him to the likes of Antman, would I probably have been more comfortable to see, Curtis stay and Antman go on loan? Probably in an ideal world, Rangers might have done that as well. But the reality is nobody's seems to be wanting to take Antman on. So I think that they've made a decision that actually, as I touched on earlier, this is a guy that's for the future. We should have enough in and around the squad to be able to deal with his absence. And it's for his development. And let's face it, Rule hasn't got much wrong so far. And I trust that he's looked at the squad and he's decided that actually I'm comfortable for him to go away and get the minutes that he needs. And I've got enough for the rest of the squad to get by for the rest of the season.
Yeah, one of the big issues for me though, and I hope that this is a sign. I hope I'm not putting 2 and 2 together and getting 8 here, right? But he's a natural goal scorer, Finley Curtis, and he has been throughout his whole time at Rangers, coming through the ranks at the youth. So we've let a natural goal scorer go. He's actually already proved that at Rangers as well. If you go back to the start of the season when we weren't performing well, and Finley was one who was dragging us out the shit, pardon my French. So we've let go of a natural goal scorer. And as Lisa Halliday's saying there, he doesn't want to go. Of course he doesn't want to go. He's a massive Rangers supporter. He wants to stay at the football club. But we've let a natural goal scorer go, Ash. We need to bring one in.
We do. And you and I talked many months ago where I actually said I would have considered giving Finley Curtis an opportunity through the middle. Because I think that, he's had a bit of time there, I think, in the lower squads, and he's got a pretty good goal scoring record down there as well. And as you've touched on, he's one of the few good finishers at the football club. But again, you do have to just seed that whatever the club are seeing week in, week out, that they think it's right for him to go away and to develop. He's not going to get the minutes that he's going to get at Kilmarnock at Rangers over the rest of the season. He's not going to get a chance up top. And out wide, I think there's other players there that clearly Rule thinks is more ready to contribute into the running. So I suppose I'm playing devil's advocate because if you're asking me would I have kept them, the answer is yes, but I can also understand why the club have made the decision, and let's just hope it's not something we look back on and regret further down the line. But to your other point, we absolutely need a goal scorer, and if we let Finley Curtis go, if we let Danilo go, and we don't bring a striker in, then that is a failure, and the club have taken a lot of goodwill that's been generated over recent weeks, and they've kind of ruined it because if we go in without a striker, we are very short to fire our way to the title.
If that happens and we don't manage to bring a striker in, Ash, does that completely dilute our chances, our percentage of winning the league?
100%. It's the one thing at the moment that we lack. I mean, last night aside, defensively, we're much stronger. We've started to see a bit more positive play in midfield. Raskin and Dio are doing well. Asgard's come on to a bit of a game. Chukwueze, we don't know what he's going to be, but he's going to offer something. Out wide, you're seeing a little bit of creativity there, but up front, as good as Chermiti has been in flashes, we are desperate for a goal scorer. I mean, second half last night, if we have someone that can finish chances or make better decisions in the final third, that game is a bit closer than it ends up being. And there's a few times this season that's happened. So it's really, really important the club get a striker over the line, whoever that might be.
Yeah, and just in terms of the loan to Kilmarnock, there was obviously murmurings that Hearts were interested in a loan. A couple of other teams near the top of the league that were interested in a loan. Apparently, I don't know how true this is, Rangers said no to Hearts straight away. It's a weird one, right? Because it doesn't make sense to strengthen a team who's up close to us, right? But if you send Finley to one of those teams, he probably has a better season and maybe progresses slightly better than going to a Kilmarnock or a Dundee or something like that. But at the same time, then you're strengthening your rivals. So is that a bit of a catch-22 for Rangers where to send them?
It is. I think the optics wouldn't have been right to lend, to send him on loan to Hearts, albeit any other season you'd love for him to go to Tynecastle. The way that they play football and the chances he'd get, playing in a decent atmosphere in a reasonable stadium, etc. So that would have been a nice fit for him. Just wouldn't have happened this season for obvious reasons. The thing you've got to say about Kilmarnock is they are in a dogfight. So I think, as I touched on earlier, mentally that's going to be really important for him in terms of maturity, having to go in and deal with that. And there is going to be a focus on him because he's the kid from Rangers. He's played Champions League qualifiers. He's played in European games. He's done relatively well this season. And he's going to have to go in there and he's going to have to fight for his place. In a team like Kilmarnock that's struggling, he's going to get minutes, Martin. If you send him into some of the higher flying clubs in the division, the worry would be that you maybe wouldn't get the minutes that you'll get at Kilmarnock. So from a development point of view, that kind of makes sense, albeit the plastic pitch isn't ideal.
Well, it's funny you say that. Stuart Allison letting him out on loan to play on a plastic pitch. Now, the reason why that doesn't bother me as much is the fact that, see, kids his age, they've come through the ranks for they were like 8, 9 years old. They've played in a million plastic pitches. They're used to plastic pitches. It's not like us oldies when you used to play in the red ash and you'd go mental because your legs would be all ripped. It's not those days. I'm not a fan of plastic pitches. I don't think they should be in the top league, but I don't think that's something that Finley's going to struggle with.
No, and I think it's always a worry when you've got older players or players that have had these knee injuries, etc. The reality is lots of players play for Livingston, play for Falkirk, play for Kilmarnock, touch wood, and don't have any big injuries. Yes, statistically, I think it is more likely on a plastic pitch, but you're right. Finley Curtis is a fit young guy. Touch wood, he'll be absolutely fine. And yeah, I mean, that's a good point. If he can play good football on a plastic pitch, then when he comes back to the bowling green that is Ibrox, it'll do him well. And I actually saw a comment, so I don't know the person's name, talking about that he's too good for Kilmarnock, and I do understand that, but then he's going to be one of the main men there. And again, I think that's really good for his development to have that pressure and responsibility. So it's good to put him in a squad where he'll hopefully shine.
We've just had a compliment, Ash. No, I'm not lying. We've actually had a compliment, which is unbelievable. It's from Lisa. Any relation to Andy? Because if you are, hook us up. But you guys are talking the best sense I've heard about our boy Finn. Think McCann and Dodds will look after him. Right, well, Lisa, just to pre-warn you, right? We don't get compliments on this show. I've not had a compliment since 1998. So thank you very much. And she shares the same name as my missus. Maybe it's my missus in disguise.
Well, I didn't want to suggest that, but I did wonder that or a family member or something. But no, that's very nice to hear. And I think Lisa actually makes a really, really important point in terms of McCann and Dodds and the fact that they've worked with Finley last season. They've seen up close what his strengths and weaknesses are. And, they will know about his potential. Rangers will have had that very direct conversation about expectations. I'm not privy with all the contracts and stuff, but I would guess that when you're sending this player on loan, there is a kind of deal that he will be in and around the first team 11, most games, etc. So I trust that Neil McCann will take care of him. And listen, who better to learn from than Neil McCann?
Yeah, that is very, very true. And Billy Dodds was a more than decent finisher as well.
He was all right. He was all right, wasn't he? He was all right.
Did you know his daughter was Emma Dodds?
Do you know, I feel like I've Googled that to confirm it, and I still can't actually confirm with accuracy that it's true. Is that genuinely fact?
That's what I was told, and I don't understand why somebody would lie about that.
Makes
But
sense. I mean, she does seem like a good Ted, to be fair. She
oh no,
does.
she is. Oh no, she's blue through and through. But
Yeah.
it was when somebody said, that's Billy Dodd's daughter, and I went, no, I didn't know that. So if anybody can confirm it, that would be nice. And Test, you're probably right. Ash deserves the compliments, Martin. You not so much. See what I mean? You see what I mean, Lisa? This is what I need to put up with. This is exactly what I need to put up with. In terms of other transfer news, Ash, it's went very quiet the day. Obviously, the team flying back for Portugal and getting some training together and that. Obviously, the manager's more focused on that. But we don't seem to be getting the same heavy links with the boy for Germany, with a few other people. It seems to have quietened down a little. Is it the calm before the storm, Ash?
Yes, or could it potentially just be a bit of a holding position at the moment? I mean, you're right at the end of the window. The Nadiri boy, it looks as though that's maybe not going to happen in the winter. It looks like it might happen in the summer unless Rangers massively up the bid. And at a certain point, you do have.
What seems to be happening, Ash, is that Rangers keep getting in the bids and they keep saying no.
Yeah, I would think. I mean, the impression I get is they accept he might move, but if he's going to move now, it's going to have to be for money they can't turn down. And then Rangers are in the position, are they overpaying for someone who, excuse me, has high potential but does play in the third division of a European league, and that is a reality whether we like it or not. I see that we had some links with Peru from Leeds. I probably see that being one that maybe has a bit of mileage if we don't get the Nadiri over the line, if I'm pronouncing the name correctly. I think we will definitely make a move, Martin, but I do worry now that we're kind of on second and third choices versus the strikers that initially we wanted at the start of the window, and that's not the best position to be in January.
Yeah, Lyndon, she didn't mean the country, right?
Right. Listen, I think that's how you pronounce it, but I could be. I think we all know it as Joel Peru.
Peru.
I thought it was Peru. Maybe I've gone too heavy on the Roo. Could be. Listen, it could be right.
You're a trickster. You're allowed.
Listen, do you know what I mean? It took me about 6 months to learn Chermiti's name. So, guys, I'm afraid this is it. This is just what you get.
That's pretty much all you're getting off the Ash. All you're getting off the Ash. Really quick question before we continue on the transfer stuff from Shona. Do you think Kyle Glasgow will get an opportunity? Also got Lawson as another option. I would think, Ash, and this is just me. Again, I could probably find this out, but I'm not going to. That Kyle would have been made promises when he signed his contract because there was too many big clubs after him. And I think he's been told, look, depending on how this season's going, you might get an opportunity, but you will 100% get an opportunity next season. I wouldn't be surprised if we see him. However, it's a bit of a kick in the teeth to Finley if he's sent out on loan and all of a sudden Kyle Glasgow starts getting minutes.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Glasgow was one of the boys that they tried to get on the bench for the Scottish Cup game, but the archaic SFA rules meant that he couldn't because I think the chap's only 15, and I think you have to be 16, which is crazy when you've got players down south playing European games, I think, at 15, or certainly, young ages. So, yeah, I mean, would I be surprised to see him in and around the squad when he's eligible in terms of his age? No, I wouldn't, because you're right, there was a lot of big clubs down south scouting him. I think he had quite a few firm offers, but A, he's a Rangers fan, and B, there is now a bit of a pathway, I think, to the first team squad, which is not something that we've really offered players for a long, long time. So I'd like to think we might see him, albeit bringing a young kid into the pressure of a title run in. You just have to be careful around that. If there was a cup game that he was eligible for, then that would make more sense to me. And listen, on the Finley Curtis, but I know we've talked about him, so I won't go on it a bit too much. I actually wonder if Curtis is quite happy to go, because I think he's going, having been given the opportunity in the first team in recent weeks, with the view that you'll be back next season and you're really part of it. That's why we're sending you out, because we see you as part of the future. So Curtis might be quite comfortable with what we've got planned.
All Curtis wants to do is play football. Yeah. And then play football for Rangers. That's the only thing he wants to do in life. And if he's been told, you go to Kilmarnock, you turn it on, you do your best, you get better, then you'll be back in this team next season. He'll go to Kilmarnock with a smile on his face and he'll give them 100%. And he'll do everything he can. Because that's the type of personality Curtis is. Curtis, throughout the years, could have made so many noises about certain things that he possibly wasn't happy with. But he's just got his heat down, his arse up, and he's got on it.
Well, and I think you're spot on, because if you listen to Rule's comments last night, he basically said that he took Curtis aside, many weeks ago, and I think showed him parts of his game that he wanted him to improve on. And it's through Curtis taking that information on and then going out and actually doing it in training, going out and doing it in games, is what I think's earned him the opportunity now to go away to Kilmarnock and have a future at Rangers. So the kid's got all the potential in the world. He seems to have a really good character. I'm sure there were other clubs sniffing about him before he signed professionally with Rangers. So I've got nothing but positive thoughts about him. I think he could be a big player for us in the years ahead. But maybe it's right to take him out of the limelight right now, let him go and develop a little bit away from the spotlight of Rangers, and see where we are next season. But we've not got much right with youth players. Let's hope we've got this right with Finley Curtis.
Would be nice if we could maybe get something right, because like you say, we haven't really got much, to be honest. And again, it's been reported by other sources now as well that Finley Curtis will finalise his loan from Rangers to Kilmarnock until the end of the season. So that is all sorted. Ash, on to a wee bit of last night then. Was it played like a game that we didn't really have much pressure on us? What did you think of the performance, the result, all that goes with it? Is it because it's one of these games where we can't come out and go, oh, we get beat 3-1, absolutely shocking, because the majority of the fans are going, I don't care.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think in some ways everyone knows last night was not the most important game of the week. And, the fans' attention, albeit we had a game last night, really has been on Sunday. I think the players are professional enough not to have done that. I think they will have gone into that game wanting to do their best. But I tend not to think really you can put too much stock into what happened last night. I mean, Porto are a very good team. They're a team that needed the win. So there was, there was a lot for them to play for. They were at home. The only sort of thing that slightly concerned me is this kind of collapse again, this, losing goals in batches that I didn't like. We saw a little bit of that potentially at Parkhead, where obviously we lost that goal, and then for 10 to 15 minutes before half time we were really under the cosh. Thankfully Celtic couldn't score. We come out second half and we do well. So that was the disappointment last night, is that we didn't just kind of hold the line a little bit when we lost that first goal. We then go on to concede a couple of really shockers. But look, they've shown enough in recent months to see that last night hopefully was the outlier. We're much better defensively, and what may come out of it positively is we've got that out of our system, and now full focus is domestic. We've got however many cup finals coming up over the next 3 or 4 months, and we can pay 100% attention to that.
Talking about transfers and talking about last night's game, Ash, Dujon Sterling can't be trusted in terms of injuries. Not his fault, no. It's just his body. There's nothing that he can do about it. Max Harrens hasn't performed really to the extent that you would feel comfortable with him as a starting right back. And James Tavernier, who has probably in that position this season been our best right back. And that's not me saying that he's quality or he's still got it, because I don't think he does. I think he's lost at least 2 yards a pace. But it looks as though right now he will be our number one right back, depending on what happens with Dujon Sterling. Should we be looking for a right back in this window, Ash, or is it something that we can just kind of limp by with until the end of the season? And the reason that I ask that, and if you could answer that and this one, sorry for throwing so many questions at you. But Paul, Ash, question, what did you think of Tav Butland goal? Butland should have wiped Tav out for the ball.
So that question first, it was an embarrassment to concede that way. Tav is partially to blame, but I kind of agree with Paul that I think your keeper just has to come and empty everything and everyone there. And I know it's going to be a sore one, but you've just got to take command.
Should Tav deal with the ball first, though?
Well, this is where I think there's an element of both. But I think when Tav doesn't, Tav's made that mistake. We know he's not the most responsive. Butland's just got to come out and deal with that. And I actually think it's a bit of a weakness in Butland's game that he's not the most commanding in those situations. He's a bit meek for me, and that ends up causing some issues. So fault on both sides, but I would probably expect a bit more from my keeper. Sadly, I don't expect much better from Tav defensively, because we've seen this movie before. In terms of what we do right now for right back, I think there's probably other priorities in the squad, i.e. up top, that you have to fill first. We're carrying quite a lot of wages in the right back position at the moment. I don't think they'll look now. You've also got to remember in January your options are really limited. You've got a much smaller pool of players to go at. We're needing a right back for the next 5 years, not for the next 5 months. So I would be comfortable looking for a right back properly in the summer, where we've done our scouting and we've got the guy that's there for the long term. And we just have to kind of limp through with what we've got at the moment. Domestically, Tav and Aaron's should be okay. Let's be real. They've done all right the last few months. Europe's clearly a level up for both of them now, and that's a shame to say about Tav, but it's true. But I think when you've got limited resources in a limited period of time, right back wouldn't be the priority for me, albeit I don't expect to see either of those players at Ibrox next season.
I know it was difficult last night for the manager in terms of picking a squad because he's so limited with the options that he's got. Were you surprised with anybody who started last night? I'm thinking, and again, I'm trying to think who could he have brought on for him. I don't know, but like Raskin and Dio both starting ahead of Sunday. It was good to see Asgard being taken out, but for me, I would probably have been resting Raskin last night. I want a fully fresh Raskin for Sunday.
I do understand that viewpoint, and you could argue that he maybe went a wee bit too strong for a game that didn't really mean anything. But I think you have to think about it a slightly different, or you can think about it a different way, which is that the last thing we needed last night was a pasting. That's the last thing we needed. Europe has disrupted us so much this season in the sense that we've been given a bit of a doing. Sometimes, even when the scoreline's not been that bad, we've been chasing shadows around the pitch. And actually, Dio and Raskin are doing really well at the moment. So I thought he was quite clever with how he's made his subs. The game in the second half kind of died because Porto had done what they needed to do. Rule read the room, took some of his guys out of the firing line. So, yeah, he could have went a little bit weaker. But you got to remember as well, we've got however many thousands of fans that travelled there last night. And a lot of those guys have seen some absolute embarrassments in Europe this season. They deserved for us to try our best and play close to our full-strength squad to avoid a pasting. So I get it. Now, listen, if on Sunday Raskin goes down early on with an injury, we're probably having a different conversation. But again, I've just got to trust that, you know, the fitness coaches, the performance coaches, all the data told them that it was safe to do what he did last night. So I'm not really going to be critical of Real doing that.
No. Listen, I'm not being critical of the manager whatsoever. Right now, right now,
Ask
he
me
can do no wrong.
Yeah. Raskin looked knackered. Why did he play in midweek? That'll be me moaning about it in the post-match.
Exactly, and look, Paul's quite right. Who could he have played? But the options were very, very limited. So he was going to always rest one of the midfielders, and it just so happened to be Asgard that got rested. But one thing, you mentioned the supporters there, Ash. Wilf was on the pre-match last night from the stadium, and he said there was hundreds of supporters travelled over without a ticket, trying to get a ticket for the game, for what was a effectively meaningless European game, which had nothing riding on it. Ash, we had hundreds and hundreds of supporters over there looking for tickets.
Best fan base in the world. We just are. I mean, how many times, think of the deep European runs we've had in recent years. And yet, even this season, when we have been really, really poor in Europe, particularly away from home, although at home it's not been much better, these guys still turn up, they still spend their money. I mean, last night you could audibly hear our guys singing, Ibroxonia and Danny Rule, and it's just incredible. And that's why I think it's right that they took that game seriously last night and gave it their best. But I have actually seen that the way the authorities treated the Rangers fans last night, as usual, was very, very poor. And I see the club have put a statement out about it, but let's hope that actually turns into something, because spending all that money and all that effort to get there to be treated like second-class citizens is appalling. It doesn't happen to fans at Ibrox, and it shouldn't happen to our fans when they travel abroad.
Some of them not getting out of the stadium apparently until the back of 11. But Ash, this happens all over Europe, unfortunately, in certain countries, and there's been stuff spoke about it for years. It never changes. It never ever changes.
No, but I don't want to go off on a rant here, but you look at like the Liverpool debacle, when I think they were in the Champions League final and their fans were treated appallingly. But because they're one of the big clubs, UEFA issue a statement, and there's all kind of promises made around not treating the fans that way. And yet you look at the complete lack of reaction to what happened to our guys in Seville. Like, it's just, UEFA are not my favourite organisation, but it's unsafe for fans the way that they treat them. So it's about time something was done about it. The club need to be front and centre of pushing that. They've put out a statement. What does that actually mean in real terms? I don't know, because I did see quite a lot of fans were saying that to them. We need more than statements. We're needing you to really take UEFA to task and hold these local authorities accountable for how they treat fans. But yeah, you're right. A lot of clubs like ours get treated like that, and it doesn't make the headlines, which is really disappointing, particularly when other clubs that are bigger in terms of finances seem to get all of the headlines when something happens to their fan base.
Yeah, what I will say is, having lived in Spain and been around the Mediterranean quite a lot, the police don't care.
No.
The police, people. I always watch stuff and people go, "Oh, the British police are this and they're that and they're this and they're that." Go and try what you're trying over here, over in Spain and Portugal, and see how you get on, and then you might change your mind about the British police slightly. But however, I'm not getting into a party political broadcast here.
I was going to say that, so it's right off track now for the next 2 hours debating the politics of European football.
Yes, why not? Let's do it. No. Right, folks, that will do us for today. We are back at 7 p.m. for all our lovely, beautiful, charming channel members on YouTube. So hopefully you can join us there. If you haven't signed up yet as a channel member, then why not? It's only £1.99 per month, which gives you access to loads and loads and loads of extra content. And it's not always me, so you don't have to look. I mean, I know it's amazing to look at this face, right? Because there's very few like it in the world. But it's not always my face. There is some other people on there as well. And can I just say before we go as well, a big massive thank you to channel sponsors, Sol Tire Trading, your experts in bankrupt stock. If there is anything, and I mean anything you're looking for, I'm talking about, a little part of Mars that fell and ended up on Earth, these guys will find it. So contact them now, sales@soltireTrading.co.uk to inquire about pretty much anything. So a big, massive thank you today, guys. And as well, before you jump away, folks, because I know that when I say I'm finishing up, people jump away. Please don't forget, if you're watching on YouTube, to hit that like button and make sure that you subscribe as well. And follow us across all socials. The links are in the description. Now, while I was chatting, Ash, a couple of super chats came in. We have the best fans and the best pod in the world from Gaz, channel member. Thank you very much, Gaz. Is that in spite of me, Ash? The best pod in the world?
I think that was aimed at you specifically, Martin, if I'm honest. It's Friday, be nice, that's what I reckon. That's all about you.
He wasn't talking about me. But Gaz, thank you very, very much, my friend. Top bloke as well. I've met him a couple of times. So thank you very much for the support. I chose the wrong option. Member, I deserve a medal, being a member for 30 months. See the amount of members we've got that have been members for like 30 and 40 months. It's incredible. Des, mate, thank you very, very, very much for the support, my friend, and thank you for being a channel member for as long as you have. Right, folks, enjoy the rest of your Friday. I'm playing fives tonight, so I might be out for a couple of days, so you might not even see me over the weekend. Who knows? Ash, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Hope you have a lovely weekend, folks.
Yes, I hope most of you have a lovely weekend. There's a certain few people I hope have a dreadful weekend, and they know who they are. Right, that's all I'm going to say. They know, not you, Ash, not you. Hope
so you say I'm intrigued now. Offline, we'll have to have that conversation. Let's do it.
Pretty much the channel members you think I'm talking about. I hope they have a terrible weekend. But the rest of you have a lovely, lovely weekend. Thank you so much for tuning in. I've always got the wrong outro set. That's us, folks. Go and enjoy the rest of your Friday, and we'll speak very, very soon.